How's it going, Reef people? What is up, Reef people? I was going to make a quick little video here on how I feed this tank of mine. So I'll start by showing what I got going down here in the apex. So one of the first things I will do is turn my sump light to on. That way I can kind of see what I'm doing down there. Then turn the skimmer to off. So you can see it's like bubbling up right there and stopping. And then my return pump to the off position. Once my return pump is to the off position, pull these guys up to stop the siphon, and then I go down here and turn off my MP40s. Now what I've done essentially is stalled out the flow in the tank, and I have my handy dandy little honey bear here, and I use a little bit of gonio power, some amino acids, and a selection of other types of frozen food. Some of those foods are cyclopes, rotifers, mysis shrimp, and what else do I use? Oh, coral frenzy. So I got this really long tube here. I take a little bit of tank water and squirt it into my honey bear. As you can see, everything becomes super still on the reef. So, once I got my little honey bear filled up here, let it sit for a second, and I do this. So, I've got my food inside of here, and I usually give a little bit out in the middle to get the fish going on it and have them not nip it off of my corals. And then I just basically feed each head, giving them each a little blast. Zoanthids even, you know, anybody who's awake right now and willing to accept a little food, I will put a little food on. One of the interesting things is to watch these gorgonians eat, because they'll actually close right up as you feed them. And what I've noticed is as I feed these different heads of Acropora, they'll get some pretty heavy polyp extension. Give the sun coral, or these aren't sun corals, I'm sorry, my dendrophilia. Even the bubble corals will take a little bit. Birds of paradise. Pretty much I try to just put a little bit of this stuff on every coral. And as I turn back on the pumps, you'll notice these corals will put out a bit of a slime coat, and it's kind of their feeding mechanism. So there we go. Now to let it sit for a couple minutes. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of food. I feed this tank extremely heavy. You know, with all the filtration I'm running and everything, I feel that it's okay to feed so heavy, and I definitely see a difference in the health of my coral by feeding heavy. As you can see here, if you look closely, this coral started to put out his little feeder tentacles. Hard to see, but a lot of these Acroporas, you know, you have to use just really tiny microscopic food to get them to extend stuff out. So the next step, turn back on my MP40s. And once that gets going, as you can see, it starts kicking up some of this food, gets it moving around the tank. Fish love it. Halide's on right now. So The next thing that I do is turn on my return pump. And I let the return pump run until my water level comes back up a little bit here. One of the reasons I let the water level come back up is so that when I turn on my skimmer, it doesn't go crazy and overflow. I do not turn off my GFO or carbon reactor or my UV reactor while I do all of this. So, once that starts kicking again, one of the things that I do is I do a daily dosing of a small amount of Lugol's, just maybe 2 drops, 3 drops, and a couple drops of peroxide. I use a small couple drops of boron, and this is what I use to kind of get the corals to turn red a bit, as well as just a hair of strontium. I started off by mixing some of this AcroPower into my food, and that's what, in my opinion, helps some of these corals put out their polyps. So, as you can see now, a lot of stuff is closed up. It's eating, and one of the last things that I do here, so I don't waste too much food, is I turn my, I let the food go for a second, but then once my water level gets back up, I turn my skimmer back to the on position, and there you have it.